She paid every one of her parents' bills for 5 years. Her sister, she didn't pay a single cent. And when she finally stopped, guess who they called selfish? Stick with her while she shares her story. And if it touches you, don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. Ashley was 31 years old. Since the age of 26, she had been paying all her parents' bills. Her parents were retired and didn't have much income. Her younger sister, Brianna, was 28 and still living at home. Brianna didn't work, didn't help with anything, and paid zero rent. She stayed home all day, watched shows, went on trips, and lived a comfortable life, all while Ashley worked long hours to keep the house running. Ashley covered everything: groceries, electricity, internet, water, car insurance, and even small home repairs. Her parents never really said thank you, but she kept going because she believed it was her duty. After 5 long years, Ashley finally decided to take a short vacation with her boyfriend. It was her first real break in a long time. She left thinking everything was fine, but when she came back, things felt different. Her mum and dad started sending passive-aggressive texts. They said things like, "Family helps each other," and "We don't know why you're acting so distant." Then she saw a stack of unpaid bills on the kitchen table. Her credit card had been maxed out, even though she hadn't used it. She didn't say anything right away. Instead, she waited until the weekend for a family dinner to bring it up. At dinner, she calmly asked about the bills and her credit. Her mum stayed quiet, her dad looked nervous, and Brianna just scrolled on her phone. Finally, her dad admitted they had taken out a $15,000 loan in Ashley's name. They had forged her signature. The money was used for Brianna's wellness retreat, and part of it went toward a new car. Ashley couldn't believe it. Her own parents had betrayed her, and her sister didn't even look guilty. When she got upset, they called her dramatic. They didn't even apologize. And that was just the beginning. 5 years earlier, Ashley's life changed almost overnight. Her father's health took a bad turn, and her parents said they needed help covering the bills. Ashley, being the oldest daughter, stepped in right away. She already had a full-time job, but she took on a second one in the evenings, just to make sure the mortgage, utilities, and groceries were all paid on time. While she was working 12-hour days, her younger sister Brianna was doing the complete opposite. Brianna had dropped out of college and said she was figuring things out. She didn't have a job and didn't seem in a rush to get one. She stayed home, went out with friends, posted about weekend trips, and complained that she was too stressed to work. When Ashley tried to talk to her about helping out, Brianna just laughed and said, "You're the one with the good job. I deserve to enjoy my 20s. Ashley didn't think it was fair, but her parents always backed Brianna up. Anytime Ashley expressed frustration, her mum would say things like, "Brianna just needs time. You're stronger. You've always been responsible." Her dad added, "You're the oldest, and family comes first." Ashley felt guilty, so she kept working harder, even when it meant skipping meals, losing sleep, and turning down promotions just to stay close to home. The guilt tripping didn't stop there. Whenever she hesitated about paying a bill or needed money for herself, her parents would sigh loudly or say things like, "We never thought you'd turn your back on us." Ashley hated conflict, so she just kept saying yes, even when it hurt. Her boyfriend Derek started to notice the toll it was taking. He would come over to find her exhausted and stressed. He asked her why Brianna didn't contribute and why her parents were relying on her so much. Ashley didn't have a good answer. She just said, "They need me," but even she wasn't sure anymore. Derek once pointed out that every time she tried to set a boundary, her parents made her feel guilty. "That's not love, Ashley," he said. "That's control." Still, Ashley pushed those thoughts aside. She believed family loyalty meant putting others first, even if it meant sacrificing her own happiness. She told herself things would get better, that maybe Brianna would grow up, or her dad's health would improve. But neither of those things happened. As the years passed, Ashley's resentment grew silently. She didn't complain, but inside, she felt trapped. She wanted to save, travel, maybe even go back to school. But those dreams kept getting pushed aside, buried under bills that weren't even hers. The weight was heavy, but she carried it because they told her it was her responsibility. And deep down, part of her believed them. Ashley had been doing everything for her family, working long hours, paying bills, covering medical expenses, and even skipping things she wanted just to keep the household running. For 5 years, she had put her own needs last. But everything came crashing down the day she lost her job. Her company had restructured and let go of a large part of the team, including her. She came home feeling numb and scared. It was the first time in years that she had no steady income. Still, she sat her parents down and gently explained the situation. She said she would need to take a step back from helping financially, just until she found another job. Instead of concern or support, her parents gave her cold stares. Her mother crossed her arms and said, "We thought you understood the responsibility you have." Her father added, "We can't just stop paying bills, Ashley." She was shocked. After all she had done, they made her feel like she was letting them down instead of recognizing that she was going through a hard time. A few days later, while scrolling through Instagram, Ashley saw something that made her stomach turn. Brianna had posted photos from a luxury vacation in Tulum, Mexico. There were beachside cocktails, resort selfies, and captions like, "Deserved this break, living my best life." Ashley could hardly believe her eyes. She had just lost her job, and her sister, who still wasn't working, was sipping drinks on a white sand beach. Ashley felt angry and confused. She didn't understand how Brianna could afford the trip. Her parents hadn't mentioned anything, and she knew Brianna didn't have any savings. When she brought it up, her parents brushed it off, saying she needed a break and it's just a little getaway. Derek, who had been growing more concerned over the months, sat Ashley down that evening. He gently asked if she'd ever checked her credit report. "You've been supporting everyone," he said. "Have you ever looked to make sure everything's still clean?" Ashley hadn't checked in a long time. She always paid her bills on time and assumed everything was fine. But that night, she logged into her credit account and froze. There was a $15,000 personal loan listed under her name. The loan had been taken out months ago, but she had never applied for it. Her hands shook as she read through the details. The money had already been withdrawn and used. She immediately felt sick. Nothing made sense until she started connecting the dots. The timing, the sudden spending, the way her parents had acted distant lately. It wasn't just a mistake. Someone had taken out a loan using her name. Ashley sat in silence, heart racing, while Derek wrapped his arm around her. The truth was starting to unfold, and deep down, she knew who had done it. Ashley didn't sleep the night she found out about the $15,000 loan. Her mind kept racing. How could a loan appear in her name without her ever signing anything? The next morning, with shaking hands, she started making calls. She contacted the bank listed on the loan and asked for more information. At first, they were hesitant, but after confirming her identity, they agreed to send over scanned copies of the signed documents. When the files arrived, Ashley stared at them for a long time. Her name was there. The signature looked similar to hers, but not quite right. It was clear someone had tried to copy her handwriting. The more she looked, the more obvious it became. It was a forgery. Her stomach dropped. She knew who had done it, but she didn't want to believe it. She asked her mom casually about the loan, pretending to be confused. Her mother froze for a second, then forced a smile and said, "Maybe you forgot you signed something a while back?" Ashley didn't respond. She already knew the truth. Later that week, she confronted her dad. At first, he denied everything, but when she showed him the paperwork, his face changed. He looked away and muttered, "We didn't know what else to do. We were desperate. Brianna needed help." Ashley asked what the money was used for. Her dad admitted part of it went toward a therapy retreat Brianna wanted to attend. The rest, a down payment on a new car Brianna had been bragging about for weeks. Ashley couldn't believe what she was hearing. Not only had they stolen her identity, but they had used the money to spoil the one person in the house who contributed nothing. Her parents didn't apologize. They didn't even seem ashamed. Her mum said, "You have a good credit score. Brianna doesn't. We couldn't get approved with her name." They made it sound like it was logical, like they had no choice. Her dad added, "You always said you'd help the family. Well, this is still helping." Ashley stood there, speechless. Every emotion hit her at once. Betrayal, anger, sadness, disbelief. These were the people she had been sacrificing everything for. They had used her like a bank, and when that wasn't enough, they used her name like it belonged to them. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just nodded and walked away. For now, she said nothing more. But inside, something shifted. The blind loyalty she had carried for years was gone. The girl who always said yes, the daughter who believed family meant everything, was starting to disappear, and in her place, someone new was quietly waking up. She waited a few days before saying anything. Quiet, calm, and observant. That's how she handled it. But inside, the anger was growing. She finally pulled her sister aside one afternoon, away from their parents. She held up the loan paperwork and asked, flat out, why it was taken in her name. Her sister didn't even flinch. With a smirk, she said, "It's just paper. You'll bounce back. You always do." Like it meant nothing. No apology, no shame, just entitlement and a shrug. That was the moment it became clear. There was no guilt. No one in that house saw anything wrong with what had happened. She wasn't the daughter or the sister. She was the solution, the bank, the fallback plan. A few days later, the whole family gathered for a Sunday dinner. Relatives filled the table, everyone laughing, passing dishes, pretending everything was normal. But she couldn't pretend anymore. She set down her fork and spoke clearly, so everyone could hear. She told them about the loan, the forged signature, the money used behind her back, the betrayal. Her voice didn't shake. She didn't yell, but her words cut through the room like glass. Her mother began to cry, playing the same role she always did. The hurt parent, shocked and wounded. Her father stood up, face red, shouting something about respecting your elders. Her sister? She leaned back in her chair and laughed. "You're so dramatic," she said, sipping her drink like it was all a joke. The room fell silent. No one stood up for her. No one said it was wrong. She looked around and realized these people would never take her side. Not because she was wrong, but because she had finally stopped being useful. She had stopped carrying them, and now they didn't know what to do. She stood up, grabbed her bag, and walked out. Not a word more. That dinner was the last time she sat at that table. The last time she played the role of the good daughter. The weight she carried wasn't hers anymore. She had tried. For years she gave everything. And now, for the first time, she was done. Ashley didn't waste any more time. The next morning, after the dinner, she walked into a police station and filed a report. She handed over all the documents, the forged loan paperwork, the proof of where the money went, the texts and emails. It was hard. Reporting her own family felt like ripping her heart in two, but she knew if she didn't, they'd do it again. Maybe not to her, but to someone else. After that, she contacted the credit bureau and started the long process of repairing her score. Every step was slow and draining, but she stayed focused. For the first time in years, she was doing something to protect herself. She also cut off her parents' access to every bank account they had once shared. She closed the joint card they used for groceries and bills. She removed them from her phone plan. She shut down everything. No more automatic payments. No more favors. No more support. Then she packed her things and moved out of state. She didn't leave a forwarding address. She didn't explain. She just left. A clean break. A fresh start. She changed her number, blocked their calls, and even changed her email. Derek helped her move into a small apartment 2 hours away. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers. For the first time in years, no one was depending on her. No one was draining her. She could breathe. One evening, while they were walking by the lake near their new home, Derek stopped and turned to her. He held out a small ring and said, "I've watched you give everything to everyone else. Now I want to give something to you. A new chapter. No more guilt. Just us." Ashley didn't even hesitate. She said yes with tears in her eyes, not just because she loved him, but because for once she was choosing herself. That moment wasn't just an engagement. It was a turning point, a quiet promise to never be used again, to never let love come with conditions or debt. She looked out at the water, the breeze in her hair, and for the first time in a long while, she felt free. Not perfect, not healed, but free. Weeks passed, and Ashley stayed silent. She kept her number changed, her accounts private, and her new life away from the chaos she'd left behind. She focused on her credit repair, her new job, and the quiet peace she had built with Derek. But silence didn't stop the noise from following her. One afternoon, she got a message request on social media from Brianna. No apology, no regret, just a short message that read, "Can we talk?" Ashley didn't reply. A few days later, another message came. "Mum and Dad are struggling. We might lose the house." Still, Ashley said nothing. Then came the guilt trips. A cousin messaged her, saying the whole family was worried and disappointed in her. An aunt wrote, "They're still your parents, no matter what they did." "You're being heartless." One even accused her of turning her back on family over a few dollars and a misunderstanding. Ashley read every message in silence. Not one of them asked what had really happened. No one cared to know how deeply she had been used. They only saw what was happening now. Her parents were falling apart without her financial support, and to them, that was somehow her fault. Word eventually got back to her through a mutual friend. Her parents were behind on the mortgage. Bills were piling up. Her dad had tried applying for another loan, but his credit was too poor. Her mum was asking around for help, but no one in the family had the money. The house might be repossessed if they didn't catch up soon. Ashley sat on her couch reading the message, and for a moment, her chest tightened. Part of her still felt like that little girl, desperate to help. That daughter who once believed her worth came from how much she could give. But then she reminded herself of everything they had done, stealing her identity, forging her signature, draining her dry while defending Brianna at every turn. She didn't hate them. She just didn't owe them anything anymore. Derek walked in and sat beside her. She showed him the messages. He didn't say much, just held her hand and said, "You've done more than enough." And he was right. Ashley had spent years sacrificing, bending, and breaking to hold that family together. Now that she had walked away, they were finally feeling the consequences of their own actions. It wasn't cruelty, it was accountability. So she turned off her phone, leaned back, and let herself breathe again. This time, she wouldn't go back, not even for a house. One night, Ashley couldn't sleep. The weight of everything, her parents, the loan, the guilt trips from extended family, pressed down on her. She opened her laptop and found herself scrolling through Reddit. In a quiet support thread, she began typing everything she had been through over the last 5 years. She wrote about how she paid every bill while her sister did nothing, how her parents forged her name to take out a loan, how she had walked away, changed her number, and finally started protecting her peace. She didn't mention names or locations. She posted anonymously, hit submit, and shut her laptop. By the next morning, it had gone viral. Thousands of people read it. Comments flooded in from strangers who had been through the same thing. People offered sympathy, support, and most of all, understanding. Many told her she was brave for walking away. Others said they wished they had done the same. Every single message reminded her of one simple truth. She wasn't alone. Ashley read every comment. She cried, but not because of sadness. For the first time in years, she felt validated. People finally saw what she had gone through. Her pain made sense to someone, even if it wasn't her own family. A few days later, a reporter from a local news station reached out through private message. They had seen the post and wanted to include her in a segment they were planning about financial abuse within families. They offered to keep her identity hidden. It was completely her choice. Ashley thought about it for a while. She didn't want to create more drama, and she definitely didn't want to make her parents the center of attention. But something about sharing what she had lived through on her own terms felt right. It felt like healing, not just for herself, but maybe for others too. She agreed to take part. The segment aired later that week. Her voice was disguised and her name was changed, but her words were heard. She spoke calmly and honestly about boundaries, trust, and the pain of being used by the very people she once trusted most. Messages came pouring in again, more support, more voices rising up with her. Ashley didn't want revenge. She only wanted peace. And now, it was finally hers. Months passed, and Ashley stayed committed to her new life. She worked hard, kept her distance from her parents, and slowly rebuilt her credit. With Derek by her side and peace in her home, she was finally healing. She had blocked every number connected to her old life, until one day, an unknown caller left a message that stopped her in her tracks. It was her mother, voice shaking. "Brianna's been arrested. Please, Ashley, we need your help." Ashley didn't respond right away. Instead, she looked up the local arrest records. It didn't take long to find the truth. Brianna had been caught using a friend's credit card to pay for luxury items and spa treatments. When confronted, she tried to lie her way out of it, but the evidence was too clear. She was charged with credit fraud and identity theft. Ashley wasn't shocked. It felt like the natural result of someone who had never faced consequences. Brianna had been protected all her life. Their parents had made excuse after excuse for her behavior, letting her avoid responsibility at every turn. Now, reality had finally caught up. Within hours, Ashley got another message, this time from her father. "She needs bail money. "Please, Ashley, you're the only one who can help." Ashley didn't reply. She didn't need time to think. Her answer was simple: no. She didn't owe them anything, not after the years of being taken advantage of. The loan they took in her name, the guilt they pushed onto her when she walked away, this was their mess to deal with, and Brianna's. Weeks later, Ashley received a letter confirming her credit had finally been cleared. The fraudulent loan had been removed, and her score had returned to normal. It felt like a weight had been lifted. Her name was hers again. Her life was hers again. That same week, she launched her podcast. She had been planning it for months, recording episodes in her bedroom, talking openly about family betrayal, setting boundaries, and learning to heal. She named it Breaking Bloodlines. It was raw, honest, and deeply personal. She didn't name names, but the truth was there in every word. Women from all over began messaging her. Some were crying, some were angry, all were hurting, and all of them had stories just like hers. Ashley had spent years being silenced, used, and blamed, but now she was building something of her own, something that turned pain into strength. She hadn't just survived, she had grown, and she wasn't looking back. Ashley stood in front of the mirror on the morning of her wedding, adjusting the delicate lace on her dress. Sunlight poured into the room, and for the first time in years, her heart felt completely light. It had taken pain, distance, and countless hard choices to reach this moment, but she was finally here, calm, steady, and free. The past still visited her sometimes, not as loud memories, but soft reminders of where she had come from. The betrayal, the stolen loan, the accusations of being selfish, all of it had shaped her, but it didn't define her anymore. A few weeks before the wedding, she had received a letter in the mail. It was handwritten, and the familiar handwriting made her hands tremble. Her mother. The envelope was unmarked except for her name. Inside was a short apology. No excuses, no explanations. Just a few lines saying she was sorry for what had happened and that she hoped Ashley would be happy. Ashley read it once, folded it carefully and placed it in a drawer. She never wrote back, not out of anger, but because silence was the boundary that had saved her. She didn't need their approval. She didn't need their love to move forward. The apology came too late, and that was something her mother would have to live with. Standing by the lake where the ceremony was held, Ashley took Derek's hand. Family, she had learned, wasn't about blood. It was about choice, about effort, about respect. And the people standing beside her now, her friends, Derek's parents, the community she had built, had given her more warmth and support than her own family ever had. As they exchanged vows, Ashley didn't think about who was missing. She thought about who had stayed, about the strength it took to walk away, about the peace that came from knowing she had chosen herself. Later that evening, she watched the sun dip behind the hills and smiled to herself. There were no regrets, no second-guessing, just quiet joy and a future she had built on her own terms. She reached into her bag, pulled out the folded letter one last time, and let it drift into the fire pit. Sometimes, blood is just ink on paper. Do you think Ashley did the right thing by walking away from her family and starting fresh? Or should she have given them another chance after the apology letter? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your take on it. And if you want to hear more stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.